So today I'm going to talk about an introduction to AI for research and analysis, something that may or may not be something you think about doing personally, but I will help you understand it. As you know, I do my tech topics for adults who want to learn and understand technology and try and teach that in an easy to understand way and make it simpler for everybody. Today's agenda, we're going to talk about some professional uses. We'll talk about some personal uses for research and analysis. And then I'll show you some demonstrations with primarily ChatGPT. You can do a lot of the similar things with Gemini, with Meta, with other AI tools, but I just am more familiar with ChatGPT, and it's still the most commonly used AI platform out there. So some of the top uses of AI in work activity is in writing and communication. It's in data analysis, and we may not do that much data analysis individually, but organizations and people that work in corporations and organizations that collect a lot of data about customers and users and activities and processes, they might use it a lot more for data analysis. And the chief executive of Amazon recently said that their hiring is going to be decreasing because they're increasingly using AI for their operations. So you'll see AI being used in those areas, and task automation so that you can automate vehicles, you can automate processes. These are top uses of AI in work. So we're going to be focusing a little bit around the data analysis area of it. Personally, people tend to use AI for writing, a lot of writing activities like writing emails or short letters, but they also use it a lot for learning and then planning. And planning is a little bit of an analysis approach that people might use that they might not think about that you can use AI for. So there's also this activity called deep research. And deep research is what's called agentic AI, A-G-E-N-T, agentic AI. What basically is happening is that the AI tools have the ability to go off and explore and investigate a lot of sources of information. And we're going to create a deep research report. Sometimes it takes 15, 20 minutes, but that's one of the first things I'm going to demonstrate. And I decided I'm going to do this on the history of country music. And so I'll start a deep research project for that. The agent part of it means that it just doesn't do one thing. It doesn't respond just to one prompt. It actually goes off and creates its own activities independently of your original prompt when it does deep research. It browses hundreds of sources of information out there, and it synthesizes that knowledge into a much more comprehensive report. You'll see an example where it can create, I've had reports created that are 20 pages. You can actually get summaries of these reports. So it actually pulls together a lot of incredibly useful data. So if you're trying to learn a lot about a particular activity or project or situation, anything, you can do deep research, and it's really ideal for depth and detail. However, there are some limits on how many deep research requests you can make, depending on whether you're using a free AI or a paid AI. I got cut off on Google Gemini after about 3 deep research reports. In the ChatGPT Plus account I have, which I pay $20 a month for, I was able to get 25 a month. These can take 5 to 30 minutes. So when we start the demonstration, I'm going to go off and do that. Basically, you are asking for a research project. You're asking AI to research something for you, and it'll get you a detailed report. So ChatGPT Pro, as I mentioned, Gemini, as I mentioned, has the limited free inquiries. And there's another tool where Google has something called NotebookLM, which I did a tech topic on previously, but it gives you the ability to keep your documentation separate from the AI training activity. So you can have Gemini and AI work on your information and have it synthesize reports, documents, other types of things as well. And so you can input anything you can want to do, but the deep research says, get a detailed report, you just send it off and do it. So in addition to deep research, some examples of how people are using AI research in work is with journalists that are using it to fact check and summarize information quickly. Even though AI can sometimes hallucinate, it's getting increasingly more and more accurate. And it's a way to double check something if you aren't sure, and then maybe drive you towards some other information searching. Healthcare professionals are using AI. I wrote a recent article about how healthcare is helping seniors and older adults in healthcare. It's great for research. It's great for analysis too. And then marketing teams are really using it to explore trends and generate campaign ideas for things that we as consumers or organizations that purchase things might want to do. In personal use, we might use it a little bit differently, but travelers can use AI to plan trips and compare destinations. If you're wondering, gee, should I go to Lisbon or should I go to Madrid this year? What's the difference? You can use it for researching activities depending on what you might be interested in. If you're a history buff, if you like art, if you like adventure, if you like other dining, whatever your type of preferences, you can do research on something to do that. And I've got a prompt for planning a trip. Parents can use it as a research guide for school options. Homeowners can do it for do-it-yourself project plans and even step-by-step guides on how to do something. I forget what I was doing around the house. I wanted to lubricate a door slide, and I was asking AI, what's the best way to do it? It's an older wooden door slide that where a slide runs along wood and it's friction. And it gave me recommendations for what to do. It's, in case you're interested, it's wax. And if you don't have wax, it's soap. And it says don't use liquid things because they can damage the wood. Now, prompt tips for research are a little bit different. And this applies to analysis as well. You can be very specific. You may want to get the current data on diabetes in the United States in 2024. That's a very more specific. You want, give me the data on diabetes, but you want it in the United States in 2024. That helps a little bit in the prompt when you do the task. You can add a goal. What is it for? Is it for a newsletter? Is it for a high school report? Is it for your personal use? Is it to help you plan your vacation? You can ask for multiple perspectives. And you can choose whether to ask it to use the web or not, although increasingly I'm finding the AI tools are automatically making a decision when they should go out and use the web or when they don't need to use the web, depending on the type of prompt and request you make. Now, that's research. Analysis is very closely related. Once you have a lot of information and you want to analyze it, you want to organize it, you want to make sense out of it, that's what analysis is. AI can examine and really sort and interpret both text and data very, very quickly. And so it can help you find patterns in things. It can help you with decision making, with summaries, with evaluations of things that you might not have thought about. If you get a document from somebody and you're not sure what it is, like someone, I think Carl mentioned that he got a lease document he was helping a friend with understanding an automobile lease. Well, is it better to lease or is it better to buy? I mean, those are the kinds of analysis that we might struggle with and say, how am I going to figure this out? Or I'm going to ask a friend. Well, AI can be your friend and help you analyze that as well. And then it doesn't understand things always, but it can predict patterns. It can give you some expectation of what might be something that would happen based on a pattern that it can find for you. So it can analyze numbers, it can analyze spreadsheets, it can analyze documents, it can analyze any type of thing that you might want to input into it. Now, AI analysis in your personal life, how might you use it? Well, job seekers. We aren't necessarily looking for jobs, but we might be looking for, say, volunteer opportunities or ways to connect with people with similar interests or other things like that. But these are things that people can use it for in their personal life. And you can really get some analysis of that on what's going to be a better way to do things. People who write things, you can check the tone and sentiment. Most of us tend to write emails, but you can say, is this email friendly? Is this email professional? Is this email going to get my point across? You can ask it to analyze the content of an email before you send it. And maybe you don't need to use it every day, but if you're writing a sympathy email, you're writing something where you're trying to get a refund on a product, AI can help you with some of that analysis of tools as well. And if you're studying anything, whether we're a student in an academic environment or whether we're a student in a personal learning, we can review essay drafts if we want to. We can ask for clear arguments on something we might have found. And we can always get a summary of other tools. We can get analysis of these things very, very quickly. Now, organizations are using this a lot. In the marketing industry, AI is being used extremely heavily. And what it does is it's being used for analyzing what's called tone and sentiment. You might have gotten a survey that says, please rate us on a scale of 1 to 10. That's a particular kind of survey. What businesses have found is that if people rate them at 8, 9, or a 10, they're likely to be positive and likely to recommend their business or organization to other people when they are asked. They won't necessarily do it voluntarily, but if they're asked, what do you think of this? So tone and sentiment, are something that's analyzed. Was it easy to log in and get into the meeting? That's a sentiment and tone that's being analyzed, and organizations do this all the time with the information. What they can do for is they can ask for, like, a customer writes an email to or fills out a survey form or has a question. They can ask, AI can analyze, what's the tone of this paragraph? Is it happy? Is it satisfactory? Is it discontent? What is it, the use of it? What do they want to accomplish? Is it helpful? I mean, for marketing and customer feedback or creative writing. I mean, AIs are being used to help analyze the sentiment of phone conversations with call centers. And they will determine whether they will flag a call center operator if the tone's not real good. They may have that phone call recommended that the call center operator transfer it to a more experienced agent that knows how to deal with that type of situation. So you're not aware of these things consciously, but they're going on in the background for things like customer support, feedback analysis, reviews, etc. And they can detect emotions like anger, excitement, or confusion. And that's where it comes into play with a lot of call center activity, because if somebody starts to get angry, they can say, here's what to prompt the call center agent, here's what you should do with this call. Or if there's an email that comes in that's angry, they can flag that and have tools that automatically prioritize that. So these are things going on with businesses that provide customer service for us. And even though a person may never read a lot of the feedback we provide, AI tools are looking at virtually everything we provide on feedback, which is why organizations are always asking for feedback as much as possible. Now, there's themes and patterns. Themes and patterns are a way to start to understand what might be happening. Is there a trend here? And AI is really, really good. So if you had a group of product reviews, you could say to AI, just group all of these by complaint type. Now, we might not use that personally, but I was at a club meeting where we handed out flyers to people and we asked them for ideas on things they'd like to volunteer and help out the club with. We could scan those and we could have analyzed them by what type of volunteer activity are you interested in doing? What kinds of projects would you like to see done in our next few meetings? What types of activities would you like to do? So it's really, really good at sorting and grouping and organizing information that you can just ask it. You can just give it all the data. You can upload spreadsheets, you can upload documents, you can scan images that you've scanned. You can give it and say, please organize all of this, and it'll read images. AI is very good at reading text on images as well. So like I say, it's great for surveys and feedback, but it's really good for almost anything that you might want it to take a look and find a pattern or a theme with for what you might want to do. If you're looking at making investments, I know some people, I was helping a friend in Colombia determine whether or not they should start a private practice as a doctor. And I was using AI, and I was just amazed at how much AI knew about the processes you should go through, which was great for research, but also giving me some prompts on understanding the SWOT or risk. And SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So maybe you got a family member. Gee, I'm thinking of starting a food truck business, or you've got an idea. I'm thinking of changing my computer system from a Windows PC to a Mac. You can just say, do a SWOT analysis, of this, and to help me determine what makes sense to do, and really understand it pretty well. And it really can help you in the planning and strategy, or if you have to pitch ideas, but also if somebody's asking you for an investment, for example, or somebody's got an idea of something they ought to be doing, a project they want to take on, you can really get an analysis of this type of activity very, very quickly with AI before you say, oh, yeah, sure, let me go do that. I can say, well, wait a minute, let me check my AI and let me say let's ask it to do a SWOT analysis of what this might involve for me. So if somebody says, let's go on a cruise to the Caribbean, and you say, well, yeah, maybe I want to go, maybe I don't. Let's go to the Middle East, for a trip right now, or let's go to an area that has a high, incident or warning or State Department or other types of things. You can get these risk analysis even for things like travel and other plans as well. Now, it's also great for summarizing complex reports. We get a lot of reports from people, so you can paste a lengthy memo report in it. You can say, summarize the key meetings, the key takeaways. My Zoom service has an AI tool that actually creates an AI summary, and I put those up on Tech Explorer community when I publish the video so that it automatically summarizes the meeting and the activity going on in the meeting really, really quickly. And then we've got the ability for using it with really any kind of thing. If you're taking notes, I've actually scanned notes from a meeting and say, can you organize this and clean it up for me? And it'll do it. So it's great for that type of analytical tool and service if you haven't thought about it. So at this point, let's take a look, and we'll do a few prompts. So let me change my sharing screen. Like I said, I'm going to do this mostly with ChatGPT, and I've got a couple of research prompts, and I'm going to do one real start right now. And I think it'll let me do it. If not, I'll try and do a second one. So I'm going to ask it, do a deep research on the history of country music. And that's my note. Start while I'm doing it with the others in the United States. And I don't care about time frame. I'm just going to request it now. I don't have to ask it to do deep research if I use this prompt here called deep research, but I did ask it and it will automatically start. And I just click on the prompt and it's going to go off and do these things so that it'll prompt me. Are you interested in a specific time period? Oh, I hadn't thought about that. Would you like to research the major artists? Should the research cover regional variations such as Nashville, Texas, or Appalachia? Or are you looking for an academic style report, a general overview, or a timeline? So these are some helpful details that might make sense. Well, let's go with something like 20th century. And let's do major artists. And let's go Nashville. And let's go general report. And I can click start. Okay. So now the AI is going to go do this. It'll go off and prepare this. It's starting the research and it's going to go off and do these things. I can go and do another prompt here, I think. Pretty sure it'll tell you, share with you, it's full, it's ready. Okay, so I'm going to start a new chat and it'll keep track of my chat history. So here's the country music research report. I opened up the sidebar. It's showing me a little progress bar here, but I can go and do a new prompt. Okay, so I want to do a prompt about growing vegetables. I'm going to do a little research project. I'm thinking of starting a vegetable garden. So tell me about growing vegetables in a home garden in Seal Beach, California. Fairly general. It automatically started to search the web, interestingly enough. And so it was very interesting. So it tells me automatically what my US Department of Agriculture climate zone is, how much sun I get, what I get. I get a long, mild growing season with minimal frost. Well, yeah, there usually isn't frost in any month in Seal Beach, but 1 or 2 years it might be. And it goes off and researches climate and timing, soil and beds, what to grow, and garden setup tips and a season by season summary and a getting started checklist. And it actually has some nice references and it lists the sources out here. So that's an example of how a general research is kind of a learning activity, but you say really are trying to get some research going here. Now, I also wanted to do something on a comparison. So let's start a new chat and let's ask, I want to buy an electric car and compare electric cars versus hybrids. It's going to give me a practical comparison of electric vehicles, pros, cons, hybrids, pros and cons, and even plug-in. I didn't even ask it for plug-in hybrids, and it gave me them. And it gives me a nice little table organizing the feature for each one and some top picks as well. So if I want to narrow it down, now it gives me a nice guideline here for budget, driving habits, or whether you have home charging, let me know. Okay, that's a nice one. Okay, I like that. So I'm kind of on a musical theme today. So I'm going to ask it to give me a 3-page paper on jazz music. I want to create an outline for it, and here's an outline for it. Okay, it gives me a nice little outline of jazz music that I can use and organize here. And let's see, we wanted what the other things that it asked me. Let's see, the current data on diabetes in the US in 2024. We're in 2025, so we can go back to 2024 and we'll see what it comes up. It search, here's the latest data, prevalence, diagnosis, demographic patterns, ethnic disparities, youth. I'm not giving it very detailed prompts. I'm just asking it a few things. Now, I can say, can you make this into a newsletter article for seniors? And we'll see what it comes back with. And I can have typos, it'll understand this. So it actually is going to write an article for me that I can review and use. Living with diabetes, expensive, why it matters, testing, final thought, and it gave the newsletter a team name. We can look at it for Evo Local Research. So I say, yeah, list local Seal Beach, CA resources. We'll see what it comes back with in terms of research, is that you can get really, really very specific in terms of things that might be helpful for you in terms of endocrinologists. Here's support groups. Here's in-home and caregiver services. Here's diabetes education and prevention. All of these resources that you may or may not have known about that can be there. And so these are the types of things that you can do in terms of sorting things out. Now you'll see our country music history is still going on. It's going to take a little while. It really goes pretty deep. I can always go back for this prompt, and it's telling me a little bit about what it's doing as it goes through it and telling me more information about it. So I'm hoping it'll be done by the end of this session. It's telling me tracing country evolution. It's making good progress, but we'll have some time for Q&A. I've done some longer reports before. They usually end up coming in about 20 minutes or so. I want to do some analysis. So let's take a look at what are the most common complaints and reviews about computer printers. I don't have any data for reviews, but I'm going to ask it to go find some data by doing this. And here's some of the things. Common complaints about computer printers fall into several clear categories. Here's a summary of the most frequently mentioned ones. Ink costs, high cost, connectivity with Wi-Fi, really common, software and drivers, complicated setup, paper handling, print quality, speed and noise, build quality, and forced updates. And I can turn it into an article, and it knows it has a memory, so it knows I do tech classes and websites. I'm going to ask it to group these complaint types a little bit and see if it'll do that. Complaint types by printer type, inkjet, laser, and all types. Here's the problems with inkjet. It automatically sorted all this information. Inkjets, high ink costs, ink wastage, inaccurate ink level warnings. Who does, print quality, paper jams, clogged printheads, laser printers, common complaints, high toner costs, color toner replacement, toner smudging, weight and size, noise or heat. And for everyone, universal complaints, it's sorted that. So you can use it to organize your data and organize your information as well. One of the things we were talking about in a prompt was to have it do a SWOT analysis on a food truck business. I am not starting a food truck business, but if anyone was ever thinking, it doesn't matter what type of business, it automatically understands what a SWOT analysis is. I don't have to explain that to it. Here's strengths, low startup costs compared to traditional restaurants. Obviously, mobility, quick service, weaknesses, weather dependent, maintenance, staffing, permit, opportunities, very popular, great for event catering. People use it. What are the threats? A lot of competition from other food trucks. And I could make this in a presentation, slide format, or business. Now, one of the things that's my music I was kind of thinking about was operas. And I said, create a list of the most popular, 20 most popular operas and the musical instruments used in each type. I have no idea. I just kind of thought this would be an interesting what were some of the instruments that were being used in operas that I wasn't aware of. So these are 20 popular operas, standard orchestra, pretty common, but it tells me, okay, harp is really used here. Castanets, tambourine, solo flute, glockenspiel, flute, clarinet solos, strings, church bells, pipe organ. So that's interesting to see all of these types of instruments that are being used in the different operas. And if I want to say, I could ask it for, I really like trombones, give me operas that have trombones in them. So you can really learn a lot about something that you might not have thought about before and have it do some analysis on it for you. Now, I want to know how often each instrument, tell me, I spelled that wrong, tell me how often each type of instrument is used in an opera. And I have no idea. Frequency of these 20 operas listed. Strings used in 100%. Woodwinds, 95 to 100. Brass, 90 to 100. Percussion, keyboard, harp. Unique ethnic instruments are actually used in quite a few operas for cultural flavor or dramatic effect. And it gives me a nice little chart breakdown for it and gives me that analysis. I can just do this analysis even without having any of my own data. And if I wanted to, I can upload a book and it'll do a summary if I want to have it create some things. Now, it looks like this country music history research might be done. Fantastic. Here's the early origins, completed research, 17 sources, and the user tells me all the steps it went through. The pop-up is telling me the activity the AI agent went through. And so it tells me what I'm asking for. It said I wanted music focused on evolution, key artists, and Nashville's role. It's mapping out a timeline. It says that's its first task. It made that task up on its own in terms of how it was going to do the research. It read Wikipedia. It's going through Wikipedia's page. It's finding things. It's going to read more from Wikipedia. It's mapping out the evolution. It read pbs.org. It's looking at some links on PBS. Search for country music history. It's thinking about using Wikipedia along with Tennessee history and Library of Congress for more. So it's telling you what it's thinking, and it's detailing key events. It went to victrola.com. Oh, yeah, that makes sense because early music. Search for Nashville. It's piecing together how the blog might summarize themes. Search the Center for Nashville Country Music. Looking at it as a key place, read Wikipedia, visited Music City, read WNPT, a local Opry station, piecing together things, looking for other things, read Taste of Cowboy. It's telling you how it's thinking as it goes off and does this research. And then it says, bang, I'm organizing the sections to trace the history of country music, highlighting each area. It'll tell you the sources here as well that it used for them. So here's our research report. Early origins, what the role of 30s to 40s, cowboy songs, post-war honky tonk, cultural information, 1960s, Baskerville sound, late 60s, throughout the 60s. This is not just a simple chat reply. This is really a detailed report with a lot of information in it that you can do with deep research. You can see how its thinking occurred as it went off and does these, and it lists all of these references and sources. So there's just all kinds of information. You can copy and paste this into anything you want to use. You can see links that it takes you from and why it used that source as a particular piece of information and where it got it from. So that's what deep research will do. I went for country music. There's a lot of information about country music, but you can also use it for things like the minerals. You can use it for geology, science, medical research, any kind of deep research activity you use. And if you just click on the deep research icon, it'll give you the detailed report as opposed to a standard prompt as something you can do when you're using ChatGPT. So again, thanks everybody for coming today, and appreciate your patience with me working with this. I'm glad the country music ended up getting us a report, and I hope to see you again on Tech Explorer.